Hey, it's the Scotch Test Dummies +1.
Woo! Who's the one? Who's the one?
I'm the one.
He's the one.
We got Ben and the brand new SMWS bottling called...
I figured Ben would say it.
I figured you would say it.
Well, yeah, we could. I need
the
to
Peat Faerie.
The Peat Faerie.
And we're gonna...
Test it!
Test it!
Cowboy hat style.
Scotch malt whiskey
Cowboy hat style. Woo! Look at that.
Do I get one? I don't get a hat.
I've got a hat for you, a little Pikachu. You want the Pikachu hat? Bet you don't.
All right, no secret. Ben is in town with the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society.
Yeah. Yes.
We are doing a tasting, and we said, Ben, come out, let's do a review. He said he had this brand new
Faerie.
blend.
Yeah, a blend.
I brought the Faerie, the blend Faerie.
The blend Faerie. And I said he had to wear a hat and be dumbified.
When in Rome, I'm here with the cowboy hat. Probably the first time I've ever put one of these in my head. But
Really?
yeah, I think I'm pretty good.
It looks natural. Actually.
You threw it on. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You look like you could be out stacking some hay bales.
Yeah, I was like, hang them
Rounding
high.
up the cow.
Well, after a few drams, I might just do that.
You'd be running around with a lasso.
He's like, I don't know what any of that is, but I'll do
I'm
it.
in Kansas.
Well,
Look at this. I got a rope.
Well, I got a text from Scott that said, I'm picking you up in a Tahoe, a black
Yeah.
Tahoe. I didn't know what a Tahoe was.
Wow. You were like, is that a horse?
I knew it was a Chevrolet of some sort, but I was like, I had to Google it. Yeah.
We did think, we used to open these, let them breathe, but when we were early on, this is our 5-year anniversary, or yesterday was, we used to just open them brand new on the set, first time, so we have not had a chance to do anything with this.
And that's what Ben wanted to do as
And Ben
well. He
was
said,
like,
let's
why don't
just
you do
pop it on camera and go.
Yeah, to be honest, this whiskey just came out last week here in the U.S. I had the chance to try it once in Scotland last month. It was, quite frankly, at a point when my palate was oversaturated with other whiskeys. So I haven't had it since.
Are we in Edinburgh?
Yeah, it was actually at the members' room on Queen Street. We have 2 in Edinburgh.
It just dribbled in on that.
So yeah, I'm personally eager to give it a go again. So just a little bit about this. The Scotch Malt Whiskey Society is known for bottling single cask whiskey. Just basically whiskey straight from the cask. This is a different bottling than what we typically do. Instead of taking the whiskeys and bottling it, I should say, just to kick it off, as an independent bottler, the society is a bit different in a lot of ways. One, it's a club. We do a lot of tasting events, and really that's the focus. Is that I think a famous Glaswegian once said that it's not whiskey till it's shared. And, it's the idea of just finding the best whiskey and sharing it. It's just really makes for the best experience. But, since going independent again, we used to be owned by Glenmorangie up until 3 years ago, we really evolved into just this creative group of just whiskey lovers pushing for the most interesting flavor experiences. So we currently have 10,000 casks aging in our warehouse just west of Glasgow. And so this is the follow-up to our first blend, Exotic Cargo, which is just an experiment. This idea of saying, look, we have all these casks, let's create something fun. So this is different. It's a blend from casks from different distilleries. It's a blend of malt, I should say. So there's no grain whiskey included. It's 100% malted barley.
Got it.
But it's just this idea of, our members are coming to us saying, hey, we're looking for different things. Just let's keep it going. They love the creativity. So we said, let's do this. And so this is the follow-up to Exotic Cargo. Called Peat Faerie. It's a blend of casks from different distilleries, first fill American oak Speyside casks, and refill Islay casks. So the idea, Ewan's vision, I should say, for the Peat Faerie was to take the very sweet, fruity style of Speyside and add a bit of that coastal, peat smoke.
And that's exactly what the nose is.
And that's, yeah.
Now, I got to say, when I first saw it, I was like, I didn't know. There's a little Faerie on there, but it's like Scottish spelling for Faerie, because I was like, and first of all, everybody on the show knows I'm really the main pronouncer of whiskeys.
He gets it right.
Yeah, when Scott doesn't know, he's like, Mark, go ahead and tell us what it is. I would have said Faerie.
So it's Faerie.
Yeah, I was like, I see Erie in there, and I was like, how do I say that? And then you were like, yeah, that's the Peat Faerie. I'm like, of course. And but that was, so they've got a little Faerie on there that helps out. The Exotic Cargo sitting right there, too.
Yeah, the Exotic Cargo just won a this year won double gold at San Francisco World Spirits
delicious.
Competition, but it's all sold out at the time. And so
637, by the way.
638.
639. Spartan
Now,
helmet.
I was going to ask Ben. I noticed that just like the exotic cargo was 10 years old and 50%.
Yeah. So
And was that intentional to stick with the same
well,
formula?
the way it works, I mean, the society operates with this tasting panel of really, it's rotating, but it can be at times up to 30 people, the master distillers, other tasting experts in Scotland, who blind taste test thousands of whiskeys to determine what's good enough to be bottled every single year. So, I mean, that for us, I think allows you to maintain a certain standard, especially with our whiskeys for our members. It's very rare to be able to taste the whiskeys before purchase. We do our tasting events in major cities, and we're moving out to other cities as well. But it's just the confidence of knowing that there's a tasting panel who's tasting everything blind. So even with our blended malt right here with Peat Faerie and exotic cargo, what we did here was we took different blends with different recipes at different strengths and presented all of those to the tasting panel. And then they, in turn, concluded that this recipe at 50% was the best drinker for this blended malt. Happened to be the same ABV as the last one, but I think really that's just coincidence.
Got it. And that high ABVs are good. We love high ABVs. I've got to say, too, and we'll talk about it later with some of the names, your naming folk are phenomenal.
You want to do it, don't you?
Oh, my God. I don't know if I just love it. There's the twists of phrase or just... we were even talking last night with a little impromptu deal. What was the one with the pink lemonade?
Smoked plum lemonade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Smoked plum lemonade.
4.2%.
And it's just like, wow, what a great,
yeah.
It's just the names are so evocative. I love it.
Is any of this sherry casked?
I think this is predominantly, actually 100% American oak first fill.
Okay.
I mean, all natural color, too.
I really got just a nice
love the
sweetness that
nose.
at one hint was almost a sherry note with the peat. Medium peat on the nose.
Got like hard water on my Riedel. I don't like that. He's sipping.
And I hate to use salted peanuts again. I use that a lot with peated whiskeys, but
Well, you're right, though.
you think? I'm not overusing it then.
It's very, very soft on the nose. But, like vanilla cake icing for me.
Well, and I just got a lemonade as well. Maybe it's just because we were just talking about it. But
No, there's like I got
really
a little
tart,
citrus
little
tart
tart
at the
lemonade.
beginning. And you're just nosing.
yeah,
That was a good nose.
Yeah, I think right away on the nose, this is the Isla peat smoke influences there, but this is absolutely nothing like an Isla whiskey. I mean, I think that the Speyside cask and the fruitiness of that orchard fruit
Yes.
really keeps everything in balance.
Right.
yeah, that is a great balance.
Yeah.
That is a great balance of nice peat, a medium peat. It's strong. It's on the front end. It's on the back end, but along with a sweetness from the get-go, cotton candy, exotic fruits, tangerines, pineapples, powdered sugars.
Like a gentle, feathery smoke on the finish. Stays real soft.
Yeah, I think with peat, and it's a love it or hate it thing. And I know you, Scott, I remember in the early days watching your videos, you were not into it at all. And I was watching, I said, that Mark guy has the same palate as me. Come on, Scott. And I've watched you kind of slowly get into it. But I think, in general, when it comes to the intensity of peat smoke, which is a turnoff for a lot of people, I find that two combatants of peat and that intensity are both time. Peat tends to mellow over time,
Yes.
but also cask influence. And the first fill, bourbon barrels in this case, or if they were hogsheads rather, but the first fill bourbon, it really mellows out the smoky experience.
Don't drop water.
Yeah, I'll try it with a little drop. I like it at 50%.
It's actually very
As is.
good. It is a little hot, a little bit of heat in there, but it's not unpleasant at all. It's very sippable, very enjoyable at 50.
Yeah, freshly opened bottle too. I find that with the cask strength bottlings, which is 99.9% of our whiskeys, I find they do benefit from a day or two of being open. This one, 50 is below what we're typically bottling at, but I think this would still benefit from some time.
What is this? Is this available now in the States, and what's the price point?
Yeah, this was released last week.
Okay.
There are some still available. It's been going pretty quick, and it's priced at $100. So
That's good, because exotic cargo was $90.
Yeah.
And that's a good price.
Yeah.
Nobody would be disappointed with that, I don't believe.
Well, and you're right on with like that cotton candy sweetness near the finish as well. And the powdered sugar is always what you and I get when it's a little bit of that dry sweetness at the same time.
Very nice. Looking forward to our Scotch Malt Whiskey Society tasting tonight.
Yeah, we got some good ones. Oh, that's a good breakfast dram.
Yeah.
I don't know what time of day it's going to be aired, but it's breakfast time.
9 a.m. is when they go out.
Okay.
So yeah, you can say that all day long.
Okay. I mean, my palate's really fresh, and this is really just awakening all my senses.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to score it with Ben in the house. It's definitely.
You don't have, yeah. I mean, just be open and honest. Air boldly.
Yeah. Look at that. If you're going to air boldly.
Yeah. Don't worry about me,
Right.
But Ewan, the gentleman who made this whiskey, will probably watch this video. So, Ewan, I don't know what's to come, but here we go.
Boom. Well, it's good. I love the peat. I think what catches me here is that, number one, I'm like a peat head, peat monster. And sometimes what happens with even a medium or a more subtle peat, it's almost lost on me at this point in time, which is kind of even sad. Like he'll go, there's peat in here. And I can't, sometimes I don't even get it. I get the peat here, which is nice. And I get the different open. This to me is a medium to light peat, which is good. I like peats of all kinds. This is that roasting kind of peat. Like when you said roasted peanut, I don't know if I got the peanut part, but it definitely feels like there's a roasting ball. This isn't ashtray. This isn't iodine. This isn't Band-Aid. All those are fine in and of themselves, but I think this is extremely approachable for folks that maybe haven't tried peat that are like, I think I want to try a little peat. Because I don't think this is going to scare anybody away.
Yeah.
And with those citrus notes in there, and I got a little bit of that when I first sipped, not on the nose, I got some lemonade. I'm a big fan of peat. For me, this is a good solid 90.
I was going to say 91, maybe a 92. That hits the palate very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very nice.
The high ABV is always, I like even anything 46 I love. We get into the 50s, we get into cast strengths. I know that's just kind of where I'm coming from, and those can even be too hot. The cast strengths, a lot of folks just coming in, they have to bring it down. But I like the higher ABV as well.
Now, here's the deal, though, too. Anybody that's in town for our 5th anniversary gathering will get to try this.
Yeah.
Probably tomorrow night at All Things Barbecue, right?
Yeah.
Take it down there.
Unless the bottle doesn't make it in the next 30 minutes.
It's going there. You may not know what happens.
You sure? Yeah.
It could be a blur the next 2 days. Woo.
No, it's a fun whiskey. A lot of our members, some buy a few bottles a year, some buy a few bottles a month. But, I think increasingly so as we're bringing more exciting whiskey, I should say not more exciting, but a greater variety of whiskey. More people keep coming back. And I think this whole experimentation that we're doing with double cask maturation and just things that are a little different, mean that a lot of our members have a lot of whiskey at home. And so when they invite friends over, a lot of their friends are not yet acclimatized to just jump right in, but they want to show them something that's pure, it's all natural, it's a real product. And to your point, Bart, I think a lot of people are turned off by peat and they don't realize that they can actually grow to love it. So I think this is a great gateway into the world of peated whiskey.
And what can be done, the artisanship of blending, Compass Box has shown it. And, a lot of people still associate a blended Scotch as somehow less than, and it's not. It oftentimes, for me, it's way more than. You've got an artisan that can say, I want it to do this, this, and this. I want it to be smoky in the finish, sweet in the middle, and maybe tart or something up front. And then they can craft it. Yeah. It feels very crafted. And that's where I love the blends. We're doing a little photo here. That's a good shot.
Yeah, I don't think,
while we're shooting.
I
see that on Instagram.
Obviously, I work for the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society, but, I basically begged them to bring me on board. I was just, as a member, I was just love what they're doing. And single cask, I just find you're appreciating different things, different forms of art. Single cask whiskey, you're tasting it straight from the cask. Before it's blended. You're really in touch more with the natural art that nature is providing. You're tasting you're closer to the grain itself, to the spirits, to that individual cask. When you're moving to a blend, it's a different art, right? Because it has that human touch, and it's that sensory experience that is generally more well-rounded. And so I just find it's a different art to appreciate. And so, yeah, I don't agree that one is better than the other.
Totally.
It's just a different way to look at it.
And I think that's the beautiful whiskey world we're in now. I picked up the exotic cargo just kind of like on a whim, and I thought, let me try it. And then we opened it up, and he's like, whoa, this is like berries, and there's all these things going on. So the fact that you guys, as a company, as a society, are doing different things, I think is very exciting as well, because you already bring these beautiful cask strength bottles and these aged and old smokes, and so then to have rums that have come in and these blends that are coming in, and your first the exotic cargo just blew things away when it came out.
Yeah.
And I even had some people going, I passed on that. I don't like blends. I'm like, well, you need to try this.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you that, because you had mentioned that you kind of got a lot of calls or a lot of comments when the exotic cargo came out.
Yeah. People
scared that SMWS was going to predominantly move into that area.
No,
that's not what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Bart, and to your point, yes, people are opening their eyes up to whiskey. I think generally becoming more knowledgeable about it and the appreciation of whiskey. But there are some people who are kind of just, maybe they haven't experienced otherwise, but they're kind of stuck in a way. And so, we obviously is really a huge just icon in terms of single cask whiskey worldwide. We have a lot of single cask whiskey, and that's what we take a lot of pride in, is really bottling the purest form of whiskey. And that experience is what sparked the society 35 years ago, when a few guys just went to the Glenfarclas distillery, had whiskey out of a cask. And back then in the 80s, you weren't drinking cask strength malt whiskey. That didn't exist.
Right.
And the single malt category of whiskey was just really emerging for the first time.
Yes.
It was launched 20 years prior by Glenfiddich, but people started drinking single malts. And so this idea that, wait a second, here's whiskey without filtration, without coloring, without dilution. This is better, and just so. But with that said, today, now this is still an all-natural product. It is a blend of just different malt whiskeys. But for us, we don't take things as seriously. I think if you have all these casks and you're bottling, I should say now we're in the U.S. we're about to double our outturn in size. We used to have 6 to 8 whiskeys a month. Now we have closer to 25. So we're bottling a ton of single cask whiskeys, and that's the backbone of the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. But we're just trying to have some fun and get creative. And I think people do take whiskey a little too seriously sometimes. And so I can confidently say,
are you pointing at me? Or is this about
me? I'm not talking about the manga, the manga fanatics, but just the other people who don't.
Yeah, there's that subset.
Yeah. So this is just about exploration and discovering and kind of pushing the boundaries. And I think historically, the society has been really, relatively a smaller club compared to these big global brands. But a lot of ideas are generated from the society because a lot of, distillers are members and active parts of it. We're releasing new whiskeys every single month.
Right.
And it's just impossible to keep up. And I think it's actually, I've made peace with this fact that I think that makes each bottle that much more special.
Right.
And I think you'll have that bottle on your shelf a bit longer, maybe savor it. Because, I've gone in the past.
What?
Likewise, though, I think, though, too, you should learn, or it teaches us that even if we drink all of this bottle, another great whiskey is coming out next month.
That's the key.
So I want to give a shout out to you and Campbell for making this. And obviously, I work for the organization, but I was a member first, and I'm a whiskey enthusiast before that. So, this might sound biased, but I'm excited about it. And I had a chance to sit down with you at the Vaults, which is our spiritual home in Edinburgh. You had an interesting little ride. He started working at the bar at the Vaults, just pouring whiskeys by the dram. Worked his way up, eventually got the call, and he was approached and he asked, you want to look after the whiskey? And so, relatively young guy, I should say, as far as industry blenders go, and I think he's just getting better and better with each one. So I'm excited, to see what's to come as well.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to have to get this. I've got the exotic cargo back there. I'm going to need to get this one too.
Okay.
Cool. Boom. Are you ready?
Well, I was just going to say thanks to Ben for coming to Wichita and
happy to be here.
Hosting our tasting tonight. We'll see some of you there. I like what you are doing with the Scotch Malt Whisky Society and social media.
Oh, thanks.
Good point. That even came up last night.
Yeah.
We were talking and people said they like that you're out there and that in and of itself is an experiment.
Well, naturally, us being YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that comes into play. We know there's still a large part of the industry that shies away from that. There's some that are getting into it and encourage it and push their people to do it. So, and I think you've seen the numbers that you get in your live streams when you do the outturns. Has been growing.
It's a gradual process.
From the first one that you did that had, I mean, after a couple of months had 100 views.
And I'll just kind of to include my thoughts on this. The motivation for that obviously came from my experience. Well, here I am sitting with you guys, of learning about whiskey. Maybe 5 years ago when you started your channel, I enjoyed it, but I really wanted to get into it and become a smart consumer and aware of what I was buying. Right now, there's a lot of information out there about the popular whiskeys by the big brands, because those brands are pushing it. They have marketing teams they have the budget to get the word out there. As an enthusiast, when I became a member of the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, I said, wait a second. These are some of the best whiskeys I've ever had in my life, and no one's talking about them. It was tragic to me, and so we're a small company relative to, I think, the scheme of things, and so it's just an organic attempt at just getting the word out there. But I will say this for anybody, if you're watching it, obviously if you're a member of the society or if you're interested in becoming one, part of what we do as a member services organization is offer personal guidance into the selection. So, you've called in before. You've called Brianna.
Love it. Brianna was like, oh, it's far from the dummy. I feel like I just called a friend.
Before I was working with the team, I was calling all the time saying, what do you got? What do you got? So you can buy online, at any time, any day. But, during business hours, Monday through Friday, call in and just say, hey, I like Lagavulin 16, but I'm looking for a single cask. What would you recommend? Or I like Macallan 12. So I think the personal guidance is there. We don't really advertise that as much, but it's all about just finding the right whiskey for the right moment, the right palate.
Yeah, because I was picking up something real smoky, and then it was funny. I'd seen something that was old and Oloroso, and I said, hey, on the offhand chance Scott would love, and she's like, oh, that sold out in 45 minutes. And I was like, oh, and then so about a minute, she was like, you got to call on some of those right away. So, but it was so fun. I literally told them, I go, I'm never ordering via the online non-person thing again. I'm calling and talking on the phone. Yeah. Because it was just pleasant. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, once you're a member, you're a member. And I feel like it's a community, but there's also that element of it's a club, and I think just the personal touch is something that, again, I took advantage of before I was working for the organization.
Oh, yeah.
So I encourage everyone to do the same.
Sweet.
All right.
Are you ready for it? Scotch it, you Scotch gods.
Cilantro. Dummies.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it is really impressive.
What do I do with my hands?
Anything?
You just
make like a peace sign.
Be like, deuces. I got little rabbit ears going. Deuces.